You're listening to Now I've Heard Everything, interviews from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s with voices from the past.
The only thing that we ask is to be able to live normal life in our one small, tiny country.
Israeli military leader and politician Ariel Sharon. Today on Now I've Heard Everything, I'm Bill Thompson. Israel and Hamas are at war in the latest chapter in a long history of conflict and struggle for the Jewish state, and one who was present for and participated in and sometimes led many of those conflicts and struggles was Ariel Sharon. The son of a farmer, Sharon was there in 1948 at the formation of the Israeli army and rose through the ranks as the years progressed. Among the battles he saw, the 1956 Suez Crisis, the 1967 Six-Day War, the War of Attrition, and the Yom Kippur War of 1973. In the 1982 Lebanon War, Sharon was Israel's Minister of Defense. And as his political career advanced, Ariel Sharon eventually served as Prime Minister of Israel from 2001 to 2006. I met him in the fall of 1989 when he wrote his autobiography, a book he called Warrior. So here now, from 1989, Ariel Sharon.
Have you always been a warrior? Was that your destiny?
In the book, I reveals the history of the State of Israel, its struggles, its happiness, its agonies, its victories, its defeats. And then you can see that all this life was a long struggle. And if you speak about the military side of it, when I was a child on the farm where I was born, I didn't think I'll be a soldier. I thought I'll be a farmer or an agronomist like my father. But life moved to different directions. We were always involved in security problems there. And that's how it developed that when the War of Independence started, we were deeply involved in security, of course, years earlier than that.
But a lesser man might have fled. A lesser man might have gone to some place where life was easier, and it was easier to be a farmer or an agronomist. Why did you choose to stay and become a warrior?
Look, Israel, the land of Israel, that is the homeland of the Jewish people. In Israel, the Jews started their life as people 3,800 years ago. And it was non-stop Jewish existence. Though we lost our independence almost 2,000 years ago, but Jews always lived in Israel, sometimes hundreds of thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, but was a permanent Jewish life in Israel. For instance, Jerusalem, which is the capital of Israel now and the capital of the Jewish people, it was there a non-stop existence of Jews for 3,000 years. I never thought about living in any other place. That's our country. That's our home. My grandfather arrived to this country. My parents lived their life there. Myself lived there. My children were young officers, the Israeli paratroopers, will be living there. And that is a place where I believe the Jews should live.
One passage in your book that struck me, when you admitted that on many operations that you were a part of, that there were doubts, that there was part of you that was very courageous and another part of you that was perhaps less so. As a warrior, how do you minimize the part of you that has doubts and maximize the part of you that is courageous?
Look, it's very hard to take a decision. It's very hard to go into battle. And being a soldier, and I went through the ranks. I started as private first class, became a corporal, a sergeant. I got my commissioned in the field. I've never been to officer school in the battlefield. I went like that until the range of to the rank of a general. I saw all the horrors of the wars. I was badly wounded twice. I felt those pains. I saw the death of my friends. And of course, in a battlefield, you see the victories, you see the defeats, you see the fears, you see the horrors. And the problem is how to be able to overcome all the doubt that you have, and you have doubts. You have to decide, you have to take decisions of life and death, your own and others. And that is hard, it's very, very hard. Personally, I always found that the best thing to concentrate in your effort and not to show any doubt, because people that you are leading should not see any doubt. So that brought me always to take those steps. I would always take the decision myself. I wouldn't decide. I would decide myself. Maybe, of course, I will call the intelligence officer or any officer if I need some details, some information. But the basic plan, the outline of the plan, I always received myself. Then, that was the end already of the doubt. Doubt didn't stop. The doubts are when you don't know, to attack from here, to attack from there, to do it at night, to do it at daytime. Once you decided, then those doubts disappear.
It's very important when you're leading other men that, as you said, that they not only don't see your doubt, but that when you're leading other men, though, it's not just, as you said, your life that is on the line, it's theirs as well. What a terrible burden that must be.
It is a burden. It's a heavy responsibility.
But you do have to accept that, otherwise you're not a warrior, are you?
Look, it's not that you accept it because you like it. I know that generally military men, generals, are suspected to like wars. I think that is that kind of idea is generally not the generals themselves' idea. Because looking at myself, for instance, seeing all those terrible things I saw, I can tell you that real military people do not like wars. Those who really participated in all those battles, saw all those horrors, had to take all those hard decisions, felt all those terrible pains, had to face the death of their comrades. They do not like wars, but you have to live. You have to defend yourselves. The Jews are having one small country, very, very tiny small country. People sometimes do not realize how small Israel is. Israel, if you take Israel at the present borders, even before talking about any political solution, including Samaria, Judea, and Gaza, which you call the West Bank and Gaza, and the Golan Heights, which is an integral part of Israel, altogether, it's 28,000 square kilometers. If you take the Arab world, the 22 Arab countries that exist, their size is over 12 million square kilometers. We speak about a tiny country, very, very small, tiny country. And this country, you have to defend. And in this country, you have to enable your people, your family, yourself, to live normal life. The only thing that we ask is to be able to live normal life in our one small, tiny country, and that Israel. And the Jews believe that that is their right, and not only their right, that is their duty to defend their lives. And that the rest of the world should understand. Life in Israel is not easy life. It's a wonderful country. It's a beautiful country. It's very small, but beautiful country. You have high mountains. You have a real desert there. You have everywhere, you see history there. If you know your Bible, you don't need a guidebook. You can go in Israel with a guidebook. If we I mean, you take the Bible. You go with the Bible. We speak the language of the Bible. If we do not know what's the spelling, or if we have some doubts about spelling of a word in Hebrew, we open the Bible. You go back to the Bible. So it's a wonderful country. It's a beautiful country. It's not a secure country. That people must understand. But in Israel, what we have there, we have the right to defend our lives. And the Jews decided to defend their lives. And that, I believe, that the world should understand.
Why was the time right for you to write this book?
First, I thought it important to try and put what I regard to be the correct version of events that took place. I thought it important, mostly in difficult times, and it's not an easy time for Israel at the present time, that people will be able to look backwards and to see what had been already achieved. And I write there in the book, when I used to work when I was a child, and we started to work very early. First of all, because it was poverty and we had to work. And second, my parents always thought it's very important to work. So when I was working with my father in the field, and I described it there, and I was very tired, and we were working there, and so my father used always to say, look backwards and see what had you already achieved, what had we already done. So I thought it's important in difficult times just to try and see what has been done already, because one must understand that all those achievements, tremendous achievements were in Israel in the last 100 years, were achieved, though in one hand we were holding the sword. We had to defend our lives. That is one purpose, one reason. The other one is to try and point at the future. What Israel should do, and I mentioned that in the epilogue in the book. What Israel should do in order to provide those necessary challenges that Israel will become a country that will attract our own people and others. It's very hard to be a small nation. It's very hard. It's very hard to live as a small nation, as a small country, unless you may provide challenges or you are attract the interest of the world. And Israel could have attracted the interest of the world. And I mentioned in the book several fields, I call them Jewish professions. Like Israel is very advanced in scientific centers. We have the Weizmann Institute, one of the best in the world. But Israel could have had maybe 2 or 3 Weizmann Institutes. I mentioned there the Philharmonic Orchestra, the Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra. I think we could have had more than one. And I always called our Israeli Philharmonic Orchestra the best ambassador that Israel got, going all around the world. But we could have 2 or 3 of them. Israel could have become a first-class medical center. It is very developed in its medical system. We are maybe among the countries, when it comes to agriculture, we are, I think, maybe the first or of the first to knock at the gates of the agriculture of the next generation. All the genetic development, I think like that, tremendous development. So goals should be set. There should be moral goals, there should be economical goals, there should be cultural goals. Israel should become an attractive country, a country that provides challenges. People will not move to live in Israel only because life in Israel is easier than in Washington or in Manhattan. They will not do that. They will move to Israel if Israel will provide challenges. And I saw that the role of the Israeli leadership in the coming years is to provide those challenges. Therefore, I added that, and I thought that maybe I should point out what should we do that will be able that Israel will be secured in the next 40 years, 400 years, or 4,000 years.
You are, of course, not only known as a soldier, but as a politician. What is the difference between doing combat with politicians and doing combat with soldiers?
Oh, it's so I can answer in one sentence. When you are, I'll give you two answers to that, and then you'll choose what answer you want. In a battle, you have to dare and to win. In order to win, you have to dare and win. In politics, you always maneuver. You maneuver them, they maneuver you. It's endless maneuvers. But what strikes me, or when I see, let's say, people who served like myself, particularly in all the battles and wars and so on, and came to political life, that in political life you might be a man that saw all the victories and defeats and horrors and took decisions of life and death, his own and others. When it comes, then you have one hand and one mouth. And you can see at the same time somebody who has never been to the battlefield, who grew through the political apparatus. He never saw any hard situations. He never took any hard decisions. He never had to think about his life or other lives' responsibility. And he also, when it comes, he got one hand and one mouth. And that, when you feel it the first time, of course, it takes you time until you get used to that.
Ariel Sharon died in 2014, just days before his 86th birthday. Now, you can get a copy of Warrior by Ariel Sharon by tapping the link in our show notes or by going to our website, heardeverything.com, where we may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you'll also hear my 1997 interview with the widow of Yitzhak Rabin, Leah Rabin.
I have remained as the symbol of what he was for them. The man that desired to make peace, the man that had respect for the Arab world, the man that they could trust.
And my 1996 conversation with one of America's military heroes, General Colin Powell.
The only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life was to be a soldier. Nothing ever came along that really excited me or pulled me away from my devotion to soldiering.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And as you know, you can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, including YouTube. Thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, as the NBA season is about to begin, we're going to go back to 1991 and my interview with the legendary Boston Celtics coach and general manager Red Auerbach.
Many times I wouldn't make a trade, even though the player I can get is a little better than my player. Why? Because I might disturb the chemistry.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.